The motion is to consider claims to be paid in the amount of $200,852.65, credit card in the amount of $2,574.50, and payroll and liabilities in the amount of $212,586.95, for a total of $416,014.10.
I'll second.
Any amendments or discussions on the claims? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Is there anything additional that the committee needs to hear?
No, Your Honor.
All right, adjourn.
I now call the April 20th, 2021 regular meeting of the Riverton City Council to order at 7 p.m. Councilwoman Salisbury will give us, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and the invocation will be given by Councilwoman Borders.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to meet tonight. We ask for your guidance as we work together in our efforts to do what is best for our community. Strengthen us as we make tough decisions that are right for our community. We ask that you watch over our police and first responders who protect and serve our community. Thank you for the many blessings that you have bestowed upon us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Would the city clerk please conduct roll call?
Yes, Your Honor. Councilwoman Carla Borders.
Present.
Councilwoman Lindsay Cox.
Here.
Councilman Mike Bailey.
Here.
Councilman Kyle Larson.
Here.
Councilwoman Christy Salisbury.
Here.
Mayor Richard Gard.
Here. I declare that a quorum is present. The chair would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Larson and a second by Councilwoman Borders. Further council discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion passes. Item 7, communication from the floor, citizens' comments. Anyone in the audience wishing to address the council regarding an item that is scheduled for a public hearing will be given the opportunity to speak during that public hearing. Anyone wishing to address the council on any other item may speak now. I would ask those individuals who wish to address the council at this time to approach the podium and to identify yourself for the record.
My name is Anita Nant, and I am here for the Riverton Lions Club. Afraid I had a big enough mouth. So, Anita Nant, I'm here representing Riverton Lions Club. Wanted to let you know that there was going to be, we are hosting the, what's it called? It is the Lions of Wyoming 2021 District 15 Convention. That's going to be April 29th through May 1st. Second. And we will be having a live and silent auction open to the public. If you would care to attend, I do have some flyers. It will be a live and silent auction. It will be held at the Holiday Inn Express. And it'll be a Baja Mexican dinner. So, you know, yummy. And we will have people from Cheyenne, Pinedale, DuBois. They're coming all over from Wyoming to participate in this convention. So I invite all of you to come. Is it okay if I give?
Please.
I'm not sure who to give it to. You'll take it? Thank you. So if you have any questions, please just contact one of us members. You can get tickets from the Riverton Vision Center and 307 Financial. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to address the council? Mayor Wortness, nice to have you.
Mayor Gard, council, staff, it's good to see you again this evening.
It's been a while since I've got to visit with you, and I heard on Chit Chat the other morning that Tony and yourself indicated that you had a small agenda this evening, and so I thought I'd come and help you out a little bit,
Thank you.
for better or worse. As a fellow Lion, I just want to go on the record that I support very much what Anita. I spent 28 years with the Department of Education working with the blind, and for 28 years I spent 3 weeks every summer on that camp providing services to children and adults, and it's just a wonderful program. And I'm disappointed that it's not more used than what it is, and I'm pushing from the inside out, so in my quiet, shy way. Anyway, I just wanted to offer that support. On Chit Chat also, you talked about expansion of the light industrial park up at the airport. And in the interest of openness, I have a building up in that area, so, but I just wanted you to know that I'm very supportive of your efforts in that area. Anything we can do to get that ground split up and, you know, get commerce up there is the right thing to do. That also will put pressure on the airport road, and it needs work on it. When I was with the Force Committee, I worked very hard trying to get that road rebuilt, and it's just desperately needs it, especially with the new packing plant that's going to be coming online. The main reason for my being here this evening is to express my concern about the potential plan and fee waivers for the hospital group that is on the agenda a little later. And I had written a letter after the last council meeting and gave it to the ranger. Well, the ranger is on a tighter schedule than the rest of us, so they never got it printed. So I will give you a copy of it. I thought it would be possible for you to have that information and my feelings on that issue, and then think about it before you have to make a decision here this evening. But in as much as it didn't come out in the Ranger, I'm going to take a second and I'll go ahead and read that if that's all right. At a recent council meeting on the 6th of April, the city came within an ace of making a decision that I feel needs a little more consideration. The citizen group that is working on getting a new hospital asked for a waiver of building and permit fees from the city. On this large of a project, it will amount to several $1,000s. My concern is that by asking for the waiver, they have put the city in a very awkward situation. If they approve it, they will be taking tax dollars and using it in a way that may not be supported by all of the citizens. If they disapprove it, they may be seen as being against this very well-intentioned and worthwhile project. Neither of these positions should be the role of the city with our tax dollars. If the intention of the council is to show their support for this project, I would encourage them to pass a formal resolution of support, which they've not done. I recall when Lou Deal came to the city and asked for the same consideration for the Nature Museum he was working on out on South Federal. After much gnashing of teeth and thought, the council decided, as I recall, to not waive those fees. Mr. Deal was not very happy. And I confirmed that with Ernie, who was the chairman of their committee on that museum. And that's the way Ernie recalled it as well. And you may be able to look back in the records and find that that's not accurate, but that's the best of our recollection at this time. The city's building department depends on those fees to operate, and there are many very worthwhile projects coming down the pike that will justifiably asking for the same waivers if this precedence is set. The new CWC Equine Center, worth several millions of dollars, comes to mind, as does the new Cornerstone Church on West Riverview. These are both very worthwhile projects that will help economic development, community enhancement, and are worth supporting. Choosing whom to give city assets to should not be the role of our council, in my opinion. They should be working to keep utilities as low as possible while providing the best services to our community in a safe, fair, and equitable manner. We've just passed a 0.5 cent tax for economic development, and in my opinion, that would be a more appropriate place to look for such funding. I've personally donated to this hospital project, and so I support it. It's obviously a good thing for the community, and no one argues that point. I also question the need for a third-party review of the plans. These plans are not new. As I recall, Vivian mentioned that the contractor has built, I hate to say a number, but it was a large number of these hospitals across the United States. They're very reputable. And I have an idea that they could just pull the plans off of the shelf, and they've probably been reviewed many times over. So it seems like a redundancy that we also have engineers in our community that need that work. And so I would like to, wonder why we can't do that review in-house. Maybe they don't have those expertise, I don't know. But it just seems like that should be something that we should address. And then according to the staff budget, if the city council were to waive these fees and the denoted funds would forego the following estimated revenue amounts. The general fund would lose between $26,500 and $31,800. The water fund will lose $11,966, and the sewer fund will lose $4,823. And these are enterprise funds, as you know, that if you give those assets away, then when they come around for a rate review and they say, well, this fund is a little low, so we've got to raise the rates on all the citizens to make up that difference. The reason that they're low is because those assets were given away. And it may be given away to a very worthwhile project. I'm not arguing that point at all. But it just, I just don't see that as the role of the city to pick winners here and losers here. And I think the role of the city should be to try to keep the utility rates low for everybody. And I applaud you for your concern about wanting to help with the economic development, and this will certainly help. So, but I just hate to see the city getting involved in that when our building department, as I remember, one statistic operates at about 50%. The monies that they bring in through fees and tap fees and everything, about 50% of it covers the building department cost, which has to be subsidized by someone. And so to give those assets away just doesn't make sense. Now, me personally, at my building up at the airport, if someone comes to me and wants to have a party, I can tell them, go ahead, and not charge them anything. I'm a private citizen with a private ownership. You guys are not. Okay, you're overseeing the funds of all of the citizens. And to use it that way, I just think is a wrong way to do it. So anyway, and that concludes my remarks. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. Appreciate it. Anyone else wishing to address the council? Seeing none, would the city clerk please read the consent agenda items by title only, please?
Yes, Your Honor. Approval of the minutes, April 6, 2021, regular council meeting. Approval of the minutes, April 13th, 2021, council work session. Approval of the minutes, April 20th, 2021, finance committee meeting. Approval of the finance committee recommendations for April 20th, 2021. An open container permit application submitted by Bar 10 for Happy Days at City Park on July 10th, 2021 from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. and a plat for the Buffalo subdivision in Fremont County.
Thank you. Are there any items requiring further discussion?
Your Honor, the Finance Committee met earlier this evening and approved the consideration of claims to be paid in the amount of $200,852.65, Elon credit card in the amount of $2,574.50, payroll and liabilities for April 9th, 2021 in the amount of $212,586.95, for the total of $416,014.10.
Thank you. I appreciate that. The chair would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Borders has a motion and Councilman Bailey has a second. Any council discussion?
Your Honor, I'll abstain from the Bailey Enterprises line item on the Finance Committee report.
Okay. Anybody else? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Consideration of ordinance number 21-003, second reading, annex of various parcels to Riverton corporate boundaries. Would the city clerk please read ordinance number 21-003 by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Proposed ordinance number 21-003 on second reading. An ordinance annexing and zoning various properties, Fremont County, Wyoming, not previously annexed to the city of Riverton, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to adopt ordinance number 21-003 on second reading.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bailey has a motion. Councilwoman Cox has a second. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Consideration of ordinance number 21-004, second reading, adoption of the 2020 National Electric Code, the NEC-NFPA 70. Would the city clerk please read ordinance number 21-004 by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Proposed ordinance number 21-004 on second reading. An ordinance amending Title 15, Building Construction, Chapter 15.04, Building Construction and Maintenance Codes, Section 15.04.010, Adoption, Applicability, Filing, subsection Title A10 of the Riverton Municipal Code, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to adopt ordinance number 21-004 on second reading.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bailey has the motion. Councilwoman Cox has a second. Further discussion? This ordinance, I believe I left Councilwoman Salisbury out on the limb last time we passed this. I'm opposed to the fact of the way that this is done and passed down to the city when we really don't have any way to amend or to make our votes have merit. And so I don't see a need for our votes is my problem. If the state's going to mandate and pass it, and then they should stand the buffetings of the voters. They don't do it that way. They want us to pass it so that the voters can be disappointed with us when we have the conversation. I did have that conversation with the fire marshal. He is a pleasant fellow and very amendable, and I told him that I would reconsider and pass it. The other thing that Councilwoman Salisbury points out is it comes at an additional cost to the city. The city will have to put that cost in its building fees to pay for contract labor. We will also have to, and I'm sure Tony will get right after that, after this passes, to pass another ordinance to hire private contractors to do those inspections. And the state would like us to have more than one. They'd like to have 2 or 3 possibly. And so what that consists of is we'll have to go out and get contract labor at whatever fee they want to charge to do that work, to inspect the electrical services. So every once in a while we get we get caught by our own mousetrap. And we think that this will halt the work in Riverton, and we just will be unable to build anything, and the sky is falling. And it really isn't gonna, the sky isn't gonna fall, and yet it is gonna add costs to everything that we build, whether it's commercial or residential. It will have a cost added to it to adapt to the 2020 code. And so I apologize to Councilwoman Salisbury for putting my information out and getting her foot in the trap. I don't mind my foot in the trap. I think we do have to pass it so that it can move forward and we can get an ordinance written to get an inspector. And so with that additional information, you all have your ability to vote the way you choose. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Nay also. Motion passes with a vote of 4-2. Item 11, waiver of building permit fees for the Riverton Medical District. The chair would entertain a motion to remove the waiver of the building and permit fees for the Riverton Medical District from the table.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Larson has the motion. Councilwoman Cox has the second. Further discussion? Seeing that,
Tony's got a comment.
Tony?
Your Honor, did you want staff report on this item at this point?
Not till we get to the other, or do you want it now?
No?
I have you next. after
Okay,
this.
never mind, thank you.
But
No, yeah, I think you're correct.
Megan, we'll let him talk, won't we, eventually? Eventually.
Thank you, Your Honor, sorry.
Seeing no other discussion other than what Tony wants to do, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. City Administrator's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I apologize. I'm just excited tonight, I guess. I get to give a report, and the last couple times I haven't had anything, so really excited about tonight. And with that, I'm going to have to point out that I made a mistake on the staff report anyway. At the last council meeting, council asked for a little bit more analysis on what those what these fees were, and I believe we provided that. When looking, it was pointed out to me this morning that some of the fees that we're talking about are have changed with the most recent rates, and I didn't update those, so I will update those later in my report. Looking at the different costs we have 5 different areas that are considered, and when you made the original motion, it kind of all got lumped together a little bit. We would recommend that if council chooses to make any waiver of fees, that council not waive those pass-through fees, whether or not there's a third-party review or there's the opportunity to do a reduced one because it's a cookie-cutter design or anything is kind of down the road. That's determined based on what is provided at that time. However, any third-party review fee is just that, it's a pass-through fee, so it wouldn't be something that we're waiving, it would be something we would have to pay. The same can be said for the cost of the water meter that is in there, and as such, those fees especially are not recommended to be waived or to be paid by the city because that would be the city more taking on the private development costs. However, city does have building permit fee, water tap fee, and sewer tap fee, which they could waive if they so chose. In our calculations, we had, it was pointed out to me this morning that the water and sewer tap fees actually combined would go up by about $504. I was using the wrong numbers, and I apologize for that, but that doesn't change the recommendation. Additionally, at the and as Mayor Warpness did point out, we do talk about how we forego those fees, which is different than paying them. We're just not collecting them. So there is a difference between those two types of considerations. If agreed to, or if passed, to waive the fees that we've recommended, we would provide for an agreement with Riverton Medical District to be executed with, that would formalize that agreement. That would come back to you as either most likely just an agenda item, and it would be relatively simple and to the point, but we do tend to put those in as formal understandings. One of the other conversations that came about from the last council meeting was future requests. At this point, we haven't had while we would expect that future requests do come, I mean, that's not surprising to us. We've had calls already. However, we have not provided you a methodology or a sliding scale or the like. If we wanted to develop something like that, that would take a little bit more conversation, and we would have to understand what council's desires are and back those up against how we would do it and present something formally, which we can do if you want. But we haven't provided that as part of this simply because we didn't have the time or the input at the time or the information to make that available to you. But we would happily do that at a later date. We are looking at those types of things consistently. With that, Your Honor, I have no additional items to provide you other than to denote the differences between the potential waivers and recommend that if council chooses to waive fees, that those fees be restricted to the building permit fee, water tap fee, and sewer tap fee, if you so choose. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thanks, Tony. Appreciate it. The motion on the floor is Councilman Larson moved it. The second was by Councilmember Cox for the approval of the fee waiver for any building or permit fees for the Riverton Medical District. Is there any discussion or amendments to the original motion? Councilman Bailey.
Again, Mayor Warpness stole all my argument, but you know, I agree that I support this project, but I think that the way that we're going about it, we're actually taking money out of the sewer and water funds, which basically will get reflected back on the rates that we will have to charge in the future to the other utility users in the city of Riverton. And I think a better way to do this would be have the medical district come to our half-cent committee that we have developed and ask for that as a economic development grant to offset those fees. And I would be totally in support of that. I think that that's a far better way to do it, and that way we don't set a precedent that we're going to waive certain fees for certain people and not for others, and let the economic development piece sort of stand on its own. And so I think that would be a better way to do this, and I think it would accomplish exactly the same thing, but in a different context. So.
Kyle.
Mike is elegant as always. Setting precedents is a politician's bread and butter. Adding those up, that's about $50,000 worth of fees that our medical people don't have, can't afford. And yet we stand here and we want a hospital just in case another pandemic comes around. Secondly, we want it to replace our first aid station, which we have right now, which is the least professional place I've been in a long time. To say that we're setting precedent every time somebody comes before us, and I've been to, I don't know how many council meetings and other board meetings where they're so afraid of fees. When I was at the waste management on Monday and requested the city of Riverton get a reduction in fees, I heard the same argument, the same tired argument. We don't want somebody else paying for something else. And yet the city of Riverton has paid for waste management's golden goose egg, and we're paying for the putting away of different dumps. Now, as for we're taking money from an indigent cripple, the money that the hospital will spend on water will equally pay for all these fees. We will not lose 1 penny, not 1 penny. We might delay getting it. And for the building department, they're only paying 50% of their way anyway, and that's no different than the court. A big city needs a court. A big city needs a building department. Says who? So these fees that we are waiving are not precedent. We each have our opportunities to say, no, not at this time. And a museum is not a hospital. I've never seen a museum cure or help or prevent any disease. It's an entertainment, it's a historical monument, but it's not a life-saving event. This hospital is. Look at the newspaper and see the last time there was a baby born in Riverton. Not that that's important, but we are here as an economical development. Sure, if I were them, I would not only ask for a fee waiver, but I'd go before the economic board to get more money. So don't let this tried. It's not fair, and I didn't get it when I asked for it. That was the board's position at that time. It doesn't have to be that way all the time. That's why it comes before the board. And there is a vote on it. So it's not precedenting. It is not anything, but we look at it at an item by item basis. It's just like a liquor license or anything else. At the time when you make that choice. Thank you.
Thanks, Kyle. Anyone else?
Your Honor, I guess I would say that I really like what Mike had to say. To me, it seems like a reasonable solution. That's about all I have to say about that.
Okay. I have some ground to plow here, I think. And so you'll have to give me a moment. If I'm not mistaken, we paid for a professional auditor to come in and to set our water rates. And he included what our fees would be. I think Mia will help me with this. He included in our fees replacement and maintenance of our facilities. And so every time I pay my water bill, I pay not just for what the making of water costs, but for what it costs to maintain and to put some money away to improve our water and sewer districts. And those monies are held in an enterprise fund that we can't reach into. And these are great discussions because unless you sit on this table, you don't know that stuff. And every once in a while, somebody thinks that we just reach into the water bucket and buy a new police car. Chief, have you ever seen us buy a police car out of the water fund?
No, sir.
So we are liable to those enterprise funds, and those enterprise funds are set up to maintain their own responsibilities of their improvements. The fees that we're talking about waiving here tonight are building fees, and I more than appreciate Mayor Warpness. What I am trying to do is to make Riverton a welcoming place to come to. Please come to Riverton. Please bring your businesses. Please bring your residential house. Please come and join us in Riverton. And so there's lots of communities in Orange County, California. There's just a flat rate of 80 grand that you've got to pay because you're going to build in that county. And it goes to no enterprise fund. It's just because you want to build there. And it's added right on top of your lot fees. And that's what you pay for the privilege to build there. What we're talking about in a building permit fee is a permit fee that we control. Water tap fee, we control, we set those. Mia was able to tell me exactly what the meter fees are set up by the city council. It's set up by 3/4 inch, inch and a half, 2 inch, graduates clear to 4 inch, doesn't it, Mia?
To 8-inch, sir.
To 8 inch? So we've set those fees randomly as just if you're gonna use this much water, we think we need to get paid this much money to do it. So those fees, Mia, correct me when I get off base, do those water fee taps go into the water fund? Or into the
Your Honor,
general
yes,
fund?
they do.
The water tap fee would go into the water fund.
Yes.
So what we have going is a system that is somewhat of pay to play when you come to town, okay? It's an arbitrary figure of what the water tap fee costs. Now, Councilman Bailey just remodeled his pit stop on Federal, and I believe he told me at one time he had $15,000 in fees to the city of Riverton for his own property that he was willing to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to upgrade and to improve, bring it up to code, and to make it look really good so people would like the city of Riverton and stop in and buy gas there and a pop and use the restroom. And so what I'm trying to get across, I would like to see building fees, the tangible permit fees, to drop to nothing to live in Riverton. Now, I had a really great conversation with the chairman of the Republican Party today for about an hour. And she pointed out to me that she wasn't in favor, but as long as we got to the end of the conversation, she understood what I was trying to do. I think this is a way to make Riverton a welcoming place to build. I think it's a good idea to waive the fees for the Equine Center, for the college. We're just taking money out of our pocket. It's the money that the state's using is state funds, which come from who? They come from us. And so we're gonna levy a tax on top of that we have to pay for ourselves, and we're gonna do that because it's the state of Wyoming paying them. Well, they're using our money again to pay them. And so the reality of what I would like to see us do, I think the hospital is a very, very good idea. And if we have the possibility to waive the fees, I think it's a real smart thing to do. I was not, I had to give some credit to Councilman Larson. I wanted the fees, I wanted to look at some buildings that paid the water fees for that size of building. And Mia was kind enough to go back through and find me some. And in '08, the building similar to the one we're talking about used $49,000 worth of city services in '08. In 2020, the same building only used $16,000 worth of city services. Now, the price per gallon was the same, right? Every time we flushed the toilet, we didn't make any more money. It's not a money thing that we're talking about every time we use the water. What we're talking about is economic growth. And when they're here and busy and working hard and making money, we sell more water. And if you move into the city of Riverton and build a house, which is the industry I'm in, and I will take some flack for the fact that I am in this industry, I don't get any more money off of a city permit than I would any other day. It's a pass-through tax. So for argument's sake, the reality of it is the hospital is looking and having a hard time gathering money to build their building. If we can help them, and I think a couple things need to be pointed out here. If they don't get enough help to secure a note, they aren't going to build. and it's going to cost us zero, right? We will not have forgiven anything. With that said, if they do not build, we won't get 70 jobs, 140 jobs, whatever the hospital brings. And we can always argue about that. I also want to point out that they are already, Tony, and I'll mention that in further comments tonight, they already are at the EDGE committee asking for assistance from the half cent. And it's substantial. It's a substantial number that they're asking for, and rightfully so, because 140 jobs added to the city of Riverton would be substantial. If we had another 140 houses to build, or apartments to fill, or another 20 doctors that came to town to work, we would see economic growth. So this is a really great idea to support the hospital. Now, not everybody supports the hospital. That's a true statement. Not everybody's in favor of the, I wish they would change their name. I've asked multiple times. The Riverton Medical District does imply that there's a district, and that you can go out there and there should be some type of tax dollar that would come in and help support that. They're trying to build this without having the taxpayers support it. That's unique. That in and of itself is unique. We could formulate a hospital district and have everybody pay for it, like we do the seminary district, like we do the fire district, like we do all the other districts. So, with that said, I remember back when I was younger and better looking, and Mayor Warpness sat in my chair. And Mayor Warpness suggested that we send $2,000 to the city of Lander to help them pay for their community center. And I was the only nay vote for that. And the reason I was a nay vote was because the $2,000 was taxes paid through force of Riverton citizens paid to the city of Lander for a building that they chose to build. I see that still today as something that I shouldn't vote for. But what I see this is an opportunity that if we don't do it and if we don't help push the hospital forward, we may not get it. If we do push the hospital forward, yes, we are going to have to take some nay votes, and people are going to say, you know, that wasn't where I wanted my money to go. And I believe we're protecting the water sewer funds sufficiently that they will be intact. The building department does not pay for itself. Kyle's correct about that. It has to be subsidized. And so the reality of what we're doing is talking about economic growth in the city of Riverton. And there's one thing that I really don't like is somebody that comes up with great ideas but won't put their money where their mouth is. We have an opportunity as a city council to, all sorts of people have donated. I've donated. Mayor Warpness has donated. I bet you if I go around the room, everybody in here has probably put money in the pot. I know for a fact Councilman Bailey, who sits to my right, donates to everything. And when he suggests that we don't support the hospital, that's not where his checkbook is at. We need to support the growth of Riverton, and we need to help push Riverton forward on all levels. And we do a great job of this. Our airport, our half-cent tax, we are out of most of the state of Wyoming, we in Fremont County are ahead of the curve. And I appreciate that. And that's why I will be voting in favor of waiving the fees. And when it comes up again, just so, and that's what the chairman of the Republican Party wanted to extract from me, I will vote to waive the fee for anybody else that comes to Riverton, including the Equine Center. I want jobs in Riverton, and I compute those jobs to be worth way more than what this is collecting to the city of Riverton. if that hospital stays in business and pays $49,000 a month in fees to the city of Riverton, will be way more money than we ever collected on the $50,000 that we extracted on a one-time basis. And so, Christie, thank you for,
Your Honor, I do want to disclose I am part of the Riverton Medical District. The difference, I think, and I would say this with anything, our last city council meeting, we provided funds to many entities in the city of Riverton. And the difference, I think, between what some people are talking about, it is a nonprofit hospital. It's the money that the hospital makes will be going back into this community, back into more services, quality health care. It won't be going out to corporations and other places. I've had discussions with different people about what Ron suggested with the Edge Committee, doing that either way, but there is a difference between being a nonprofit and other entities that may request it. I'm all for the Equine Center. I work at CWC too. I know the funding for that there's available funds through the state because it's funded through that. Probably out of, I'd say around 15 million out of the 18 million is funded through different. So I think they're different. I think we need them all, and I'm like with you with the different things with the services to bring them in. I understand what Mike and Ron were saying about their own businesses not being able to do that, but their businesses are making money that's not going back. I mean, it's going back into the community, but a profit and a nonprofit are different in those two settings. That's all I have to say.
and so, if no one else wants to add on from that, Tony, would you like to add?
Mayor, I would just ask for a little bit of clarification. If the motion is not amended, I would like some clarification on the motion. Is that to only include building permit fee, water tap fee, and sewer tap fee, as you're currently considering it?
Yeah, and the reason, so we get back to that, and I think that's a great suggestion, is it doesn't cost the city. I think that's our job, is to make sure that we don't cost the city. Now, it doesn't have to be the full amount. It could be 25% and leave us 25% of it to do something different. That's your guys' options to do and mine to listen. But what I think we're trying to do, and I know everybody in the room, including Mayor Warpness, we all are trying to grow Riverton. And these are just ideas. They come around. Anybody here are you able to point out to me the last $35 million building that we built in Riverton? I think I know one.
College Medical Center.
Okay, I don't think the College Medical Center hit that level. Ernie, can you help me? I don't think so. But the Job Corps did, right? And so I chased Mike Martin out the door the other night when he spoke to the Edge Committee and said he hadn't seen of an economic growth that came close to the hospital's growth in the last 10 years. So I went out and caught him. He was about out the door. I said, tell me what happened 10 years ago that I missed. He didn't remember it, but I went back and searched. Mayor Warpness and I went to Washington, D.C. together, and we did our very best to pry that money out of the hands of the federal government, and it was somewhere around $34 million at the time, was it not? Yeah. Mayor, could you?
First of all, I want to thank you for bringing up that $2,000 issue when the center over in Lander burned down, and they worked very hard to raise funds to build their new one. That was a very, very difficult time for Gary Michaud and the mayor over there. And the $2,000 that the city of Riverton gave was a drop in the bucket to that, but it was worth millions in terms of good relationship between our communities. And we've had our difficulties with the airport and who's going to pay for it, and it's called Riverton, and on and on and on. So trying to build these things, and I don't disagree with you at all, Mayor Guard, that we're all trying to do what's in the best interest of our community. And, you know, when you suggest that there are people in town that are not supportive of this hospital group's efforts, that's accurate. That's accurate. And this council is to represent all of the citizens of Riverton, not just the ones that support this hospital group. And so that's where the rub comes. And this $2,000 that was given to Lander, in a perfect world, I would have to go back and reevaluate my position and maybe think about it again, and may not do it. I don't know. I guess over time we're supposed to get a little smarter and not just older. I think I'm just getting older. But at any rate, if I had it to do over again, I think I would probably do the same thing. But $2,000 is significantly different than the $50,000 that you're talking about, the waiving here. And I don't know, it's what you guys are paid the big bucks for, I guess. But the EDGE committee, I remember when we were working on passing that half a cent, and there was a large group down at the end of Main Street that was the hospital group. And they were, everybody, if we want a new hospital, we've got to pass this half a cent. And I was trying to make the position, no, you can't sell it that way. That may be a funding source for you if the EDGE committee chooses to use that money that way. But you can't sell it to the public that this is how it's going to be used. You just can't do that. And we went through that with the Force Committee and on and on. And we have a responsibility to all of the citizens in our community. And that's the concern I have, is that you can make the argument that Councilman Larson was making, that it's setting precedent. Well, I wouldn't want to debate that point probably. But when you do something, then the next time around you have a harder time saying no to it. And it just goes on and on and on. And all I'm suggesting from my perspective is this is an area that the city shouldn't get involved in. Just don't do it. Help in every way you can. And I encourage everybody to pledge for the hospital. And as I indicated, and as Mayor Gard and Councilman Bailey have also, you know, it is something that's going to be helpful to our community. But that's not the role of city government, I think. And I know you and I probably disagree on that, that our role should be to try to keep those rates as low as possible for all of the citizens and to help every way we can, but not to give the farm away. And so, anyway, just a different way of looking at the same animal, I guess. And so,
Thanks,
thank you
Mayor.
for your time.
I appreciate you reminding me of one other thing that I touched on and didn't do a good job of it. The Riverton Medical District is in front of the, you can have your seat, Mayor. I won't make that mistake again. The Riverton Medical District is in the mode of asking the EDGE committee, the half-cent committee, to fund that for that down payment. And so the beauty of that, though, so just let me remind you, that's just a committee. Their suggestions are going to hit this table. And if their suggestion is to fund 80% of the $600,000 that we get to the Riverton Hospital District, are we still going to flinch and say, gee, I just don't know that I can support that because some people don't like the hospital? And worse than that, what if it's not successful? What if it isn't a successful hospital and Mayor Gard has poured all this money down that hole? That's why they can vote for us and they can't vote for any of our committees. And they'll just have to vote Mayor Gard out. And so I rest my case on the fact that every time we vote There are those that don't like what we vote for, and there are those that do like what we vote for. And we had to make that decision. And so if there's no further discussion, we've put about 20 minutes into this. Anybody else got something to add? Staff?
No, Your Honor.
Your Honor,
Kyle?
I think we need to make a clarification of what we're voting for.
I think that's
If
what
we're
Tony,
voting, if we're voting for the tap fees and all of that to be waived, I think we need to waive it. I know staff is holding on to their checkbooks because it's budget time and it's money that they're working on, and God bless these people because they really add value to the city of Riverton. But that's their job. And our job is to make sure that people are coming to Riverton. And that's, you know, jobs, jobs, jobs will cure any problem that we have in Riverton. They'll buy more police cars. They'll buy more anythings if we have jobs. But if we don't have jobs, then we don't need as many of what we've got. And all of the infrastructure that we've got will be just like Ma Bell over there. She's got 75% of her switches that are talking to each other, and only 25% are working, because everybody has found out how economical and wonderful this little device is. So we need jobs. That is a job maker, not a breaker.
so, and Tony keeps asking the question and no one keeps listening to him because I don't know why. But what he would like is to have clarification on the amount and those items that we're going to. And I would like to say this about that. If it's going to cost the city, I think the hospital, if and when it builds, needs to pay for it. I believe that is a true statement. So the third-party inspection, and I think Mayor Warpness is correct there also, that if we can get that waived, none of us have built that size of building before. If there's a better way, or if that's been inspected, or if that's been improved, we ought to help that way too. I want to be helpful. So what Tony's asking us to amend is the fact that he's suggesting, staff is suggesting that we waive the water tap fee, not the meter fee, because a meter costs $2,775. It should be paid for. The sewer fee, which is just an add-on tap fee, and the building permit fee, which we do in-house, and is capable, our staff in that department is more than willing to help and to make that happen. And so I don't typically make amendments because I'm the mayor. Does anybody else want to make an amendment? If you don't, I'll amend.
I would amend where we don't do where we don't waive the fee for the meter itself. I don't think it should cost the city either.
So the amendment to the amendment is what we're now talking about, right, Tony? Kristen?
The amendment to the main motion, Your Honor.
Amendment to the motion?
Yes.
Thank you. So what you're stating is that we do make a motion to
The meter costs the city, so I don't think that needs to be part of this.
May I
give us
suggest
the
verbiage, Your Honor?
give us the verbiage.
If you want to remove those items that the city would be responsible for, that aren't the tap fee, the water fee, and the building permit fee, those would be the, make sure I get them right,
Building permit fee,
the building permit fee and the sewer, and the.
Water fee.
And the water meter fee. Then I would recommend that you amend the motion to amend the motion to restrict waivers to only apply to the building permit fee, water tap fee, and sewer tap fee.
So I make that amendment to only be to those.
perfect. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Kristen, do you have that written down?
I do.
Thank you. So we have a motion by Councilwoman Salisbury and a second by Councilwoman Borders to the amendment of the motion. Do we need to vote on that separate? We do, right?
Yes.
So all in favor of the amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you're out?
I'm out.
Okay. So to that, we have 5 for, and 1 opposed. So that passes. So now we go back to the amendment, correct? To the motion.
The main motion as amended, Your Honor.
The main motion is amended. Give us the verbiage, would you please? The motion is now what?
The main motion was to approve the fee waiver of any building or permitting fees for the Riverton Medical District. The amendment is now to waive only the building permit fee, the water tap fee, and the sewer tap fee.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So 1, 2, 3, you're out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At least we're staying balanced. And you're a nay?
Nay.
Thank you. Now, I'm down to motion passes, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. Thank you very much. I appreciate the discussion. Thank you for the discussion from the audience. I think that that's an interesting opportunity that lays before us. Item number 12 is the airport property subdivision. Community Development Director's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. If you'll bear with me, I'll take my laptop up so I can put some stuff up on the TV.
I thought maybe your computer went to sleep through all that.
I was having to update costs. Let's see if it worked. So as most of you know, there's been several lots up at the airport for sale for well over a decade. In particular, as we zoom in, just to orient everybody, here's Airport Road coming off of the highway. Obviously, here's the primary runway, the secondary runway. The properties that we're talking about are this large portion of the airport property here just south of the terminal, and this very elongated lot here. And what you'll notice if you go to the county website, these are both on the same deed, which is not necessarily a bad thing. They're just, for whatever reason, they got put on the same deed. Again, not a problem. The bigger issue is this north portion is not a lot or parcel in and of itself. It is connected to, as we zoom out, you can see this very, very large portion. And so as part of separating this out, obviously we would have to put each property on their own individual deed and move forward that way. So, but I did want to point that out as we move through the process. This parcel would need to be cut out, if you will, from the larger one. So, at the request of the mayor, we looked into, again, here's Airport Road coming up here, primary runway, secondary runway, crosswind runway. We wanted to look at separation of the north portion, maybe, there. That portion, as well as the south portion. And what that might look like, and this is just strictly conceptual, there's nothing set in stone. For the north parcel, there would need to be a cul-de-sac constructed and then lots divided around that cul-de-sac. These two lots would face or front Cessna and Airport Road individually. These two lots we would likely keep as part of the airport interest because that would provide additional overflow parking for the airport, potentially some commercial activity there. The reason that we left the cul-de-sac in is that in research, apparently, we've thought about this before. And there's actually infrastructure to that cul-de-sac. So I'm going to turn on the water and the sewer lines. As you can see, water and sewer come up Airport Road. They also come up Chandel. They also go through Cessna Drive. But they also go up, and there's water, or there's sewer in here. You just can't see it with the green. There's also water and sewer up through that conceptualized cul-de-sac. So the infrastructure is there. It wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to cover it over with a lot and have to put an easement in. I think it would just make sense to leave the cul-de-sac. For the south portion of the lot, as you can see, we have verified that there are stub outs all the way along Piper Drive. And this lot, we would likely just divide up primarily equal into approximately 1 acre portions. But again, the infrastructure is there. We couldn't verify that the sewer was stubbed out. I can only imagine that it's there. It just makes sense if the water was stubbed out. But there again, this infrastructure is already there. Does anybody have any questions to this point?
Point out to us the two lots that we sold, Eric. You got your cursor on one already.
Yep.
That was one that we sold. Then we sold the one next to it towards FedEx.
Yep, this one here.
And then up by the DCI building is the other lot that we've sold.
Yeah, up by the DCI building was the firearms
Right.
manufacturer. Yeah, so we've sold 3 lots in the last 2 years.
Right.
So that's great. One of the inhibiting aspects of this lot in particular is it is 6.5 acres that's only 100 feet deep. A very specialized operation is going to have to come in there. If it were divided up into approximately 1 acre parcels, that would likely be much more attractive to those wanting to move a business in, as well as this north lot. These are about 1.5 acres. There's about 10 acres and 10 lots, so they're a little over 1 acre apiece. To accomplish this, and this is really where staff is looking for direction, if one, to know if you would like to proceed with investigating what this would actually entail, and then 2, moving forward with that. To do this, we would need a licensed land surveyor to come up with the plat for each one of the properties, and then record that plat, set the property corners, and we would move forward in that direction. But that's what staff is asking for this evening, is just direction on council's wishes. whether or not you want to proceed with this conceptualized plan.
Thanks, Eric. That's good presentation. Mike?
Your Honor, I have a question. So basically, the white lines are conceptual lot layouts?
Correct.
Okay, so this is not something that was already in process or something like that?
That's correct.
Okay. And I guess my first thing is I really don't like cul-de-sacs. They're just difficult for getting vehicles in and out of. There's no parking. City services have a hard time getting in, pick up dumpsters.
We could certainly run this right-of-way conceptually back up to,
Yeah, I guess to me, that would be a little
Road.
more palatable.
there may be
access-wise.
FAA regulations that state we have to have that pass-through lane, kind of the circular loop that you see at all airports. That I don't know.
Yeah. I guess,
That's certainly possible conceptually, is to just run that right
and I
away.
guess, everybody ends up with 25 feet of frontage on the cul-de-sac and not enough to do anything.
To actually do anything.
But now, in some environments, that's fine. Put a shop on the back end of it and it's fine, but I guess to me, we ought to think about that. And just for garbage trucks getting in and out and all that kind of stuff. Other than that, I think it would be more sellable in the smaller parcels and, more likely for somebody to come in and do that, so.
Even if Councilman Bailey's suggestion was taken to go up to the next property line that's cutting that laterally and then turn the road out to airport,
Oh, come out here.
then we would have that same access.
Yeah,
So, but,
there's a lot of possibility.
but my suggestion right now is that all is industrial zoning. So you can bring in, am I correct about that?
Yes.
So you can bring in, and probably Eric can move around and show us, in industrial, you get a heavier usage to real commercial stuff. And so my thought is to protect everything that's on the river, on Airport Road and Shandell, and change it from industrial to commercial. So it had a little bit less, and then my other thought is to keep the two lots at the top for the airport and not offer those to sell. So that if we have overflow parking, that those are always ours to control. If we have other things. Kyle Butterfield, he stingily wants to hold on to the two bottom lots. Show us where those are, Eric, that are at the end of the cross runway. I wanted to build a big tower right there, and he said that the planes couldn't take off. But he's right. We probably shouldn't.
Target.
We probably shouldn't sell those. And there's another bow tie shaped lot right on Shandell Road down there that is hard to use because it's so skinny. You were on it there for a minute, Eric, over by,
I'm going to turn on the parcel line work from the county.
okay, thank you.
That'll make it much easier. Oh, maybe. My little laptop doesn't work quite as fast as my PC does. It's thinking really hard.
The only reason I point these out is I don't think we need to be in the land ownership business and development. And so there's those two lots at the end of the runway, which we probably ought to hold on to and make sure that, and they have frontage. That's a, there's parking and all that, but those we should hold on to. That bow tie lot that Shandell drives through and cuts in half, we should probably either give away to adjacent landowners and get it off our tax records. You come up right there to
Straight up there.
straight, come to that side right there.
This one, there.
That
we
one,
go.
yeah.
Okay.
And then there's another one that lays clear up by DCI that is a drainage problem. And we should hold on to that, in my opinion. But all of these others, we should take a look at getting those out of the stable and back into private sector's hands. And I think there's a whole lot of, the realtors are the ones that brought that to my attention. If we start with Piper and we cut Piper up into those acre lots, we get more people that are interested in, they can afford that, and we get more land sold. And I think, Eric, in our conceptual, we should come back and put a road through, like Councilman Bailey says, to avoid the cul-de-sac and see what that looks like.
Yeah, we can certainly do that. I did want to comment on obviously, airports are habitually mixed-use areas. So we've got a mixture of commercial, C1 property. All of this currently is industrial 1 or light industrial. It would be very typical of the area to put some of that in as commercial versus industrial, so we can do that at the time of plating.
Okay. So what I was asking to do is we have water taps on Piper that if we actually don't use those, the code makes us go in and abandon those. So if a guy came in and he bought that whole lot that's 1,200 feet long, we would need to go in and abandon all the water and sewer taps that are stubbed into his ground if he wasn't going to use them. And it would be at his cost. So there is another reason to not to do that. So the road condition up there, so you don't get sidelined by that, is dirt, gravel. Piper is not well maintained. Chandel is much better, not Chandel, but Cessna is much better maintained. In 101 zoning, you don't usually put a parcel in that can have two different street addresses. And what we sold, the last two lots, could have two different street addresses. So that could be an advantage to them. They could cut their own lot in half and sell one to Piper access and one to Cessna access. It's not, we don't control everything as much as I would like to. But that's the concept, and we aren't proposing, at least my proposal is only to do Piper and use the conceptual to get the zoning changed. So do we have to have a surveyor do that to get the zoning changed?
Zoning, no. That could certainly be done as an independent item. As soon as we want to drop in lot lines and property corners, then yes.
Yeah. Councilman Bailey.
And then I had another question. I seen when you had the outline of how those properties right now are included in the airport parcel, I noticed that the line goes right through the middle of the runway and the parcel to the west is not included in that. I guess to me, maybe we should combine everything that the airport, the actual airport should all be on one parcel.
I do believe that we are looking into a larger scale replatting of the airport to align better with the airport master plan.
Right.
So Kyle, who owns the west end of the runway?
Your Honor, that's still within the city of Riverton. It's just on a different deed.
Can you click onto it?
I think we could consolidate. We do have our airport master plan coming up in a couple years, and Mr. Carr and I discussed the value of taking care of a lot of this when our consultant looks at that.
Super. And that, I guess that's really what we're talking about, is getting things organized to the point where we could have them for sale a little quicker
You
moment.
hate to lose half of the runway in a tax deed sale or
Yeah.
something.
Somebody gets it with just by paying the taxes.
They're going to need better brakes.
Thanks, Eric. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So that's just a report on what we're thinking. Do you want a motion? What would staff like to see us do?
Your Honor, depending on what you would like, I guess at this point, I would suggest if we still have work to do, based on the conversation tonight and the input we've had on the northernmost property, maybe we take that for a second and step back and conceptualize that a little bit more. However, the southernmost property along Piper would be, it'd probably be worth starting to divide that up if that's to your liking. I believe that the presentation by Eric and what the mayor suggested on the onset, the size of the lots, the fact that there's infrastructure to each of those particular lots sets it up that we could start moving forward. So if you would like direction to have staff start moving forward with cutting those up, I'm sure there's better language than that Eric likes other than cutting them up. But yeah, dividing them up would be good. If I may ask a question, Eric, there is a requirement for improvement of road when we subdivide, but we also have a cross-section that allows for that. So there would be there would be a relatively small cost to making sure that the road meets cross-section, but it would still be dirt like it is now. Is that correct?
Your Honor, that's correct.
So there would be some cost there we would have to look into a little bit. But if you would like us to start cutting that up, then we would just need your direction to do so. And we can, if that direction is broad, it gives us the ability to start moving forward in the steps that we need to.
And my only thing that I would like to add to that is I would like to change the zoning just so that I'm not tempted to sell the lots that the city needs. Those northern lots in that. I don't think we need to pay for the platting of that. I do think it would be wise to get the conceptual idea of the road going through it. We don't have to pay for the platting of it, but we would be wise to change those to commercial and then to denote that the two northerly lots are not for sale.
Your Honor,
Would that be,
that would be possible on the southern lot because it's one parcel in and of itself. However, the north parcel would require being extracted from that much larger parcel of land before we could rezone it.
before we could do any zoning?
Correct.
Okay. So let's not do that. Let's just stay on Piper. Can we get a motion from somebody?
Your Honor,
Anybody know where we're at?
I think I do. I propose that we ask city administration to divide the property on the southernmost part and then develop plans for the rest of it. Is that
That works.
okay?
That's a good motion. Can I get a second? Councilman Bailey has a second. We have a motion from Councilwoman Borders and a second from Councilman Bailey. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. We're now down to item 13, council committee reports. And Christie, could you start us?
I did not attend any meetings, but did we skip over the open container permit application?
It is in consent.
Oh, okay,
And so
gotcha.
when we put it in consent, you have to object to it.
Okay,
That's
I wasn't sure on that, okay. But no, I haven't been to any meetings since the last meeting.
Okay, thank you. Kyle?
Yes, Your Honor. I failed to attend the airport meeting and had a prior engagement in Billings, but I did attended the waste management, my favorite, and they're looking at between 5 to 7 years closing down the transfer station in Riverton. I said, why would you do that? The answer is because we don't like to double handle garbage. I said, then why have we been doing it since 2014? And the answer is because at that time, the Lander landfill had a closure date of 2024, no matter if it was full or empty, and they wanted to fill it up. Not only that, they wanted to dig up the baseball courts and send that over there, and all kinds of things. Well, 2017, and that all changed, and they're figuring that they can run the Lander landfill till 2028. But it's still, the question is why shut down the Riverton transfer station? The answer is, under their guidelines, We are within we're within 20 miles of a major landfill, which is Sandral. And so we would take our garbage collected by the city directly to Sandral and not use the transfer station. And I immediately said, as I raised my hand very politely, the city of Riverton will request a rate reduction. And we got the same reaction as this committee had. You would have thought I was talking about something sacred. And I said, look, if we're gonna be hauling the garbage, there is no reason that we shouldn't get a reduction. We've been your cash cow for 20 years, and we refuse to do it any longer. So they said, oh. So then somebody said, well, we're gonna call Tony. And I said, I hope you do. And so then when I got back, I called Tony. Anyway, the reason for this is, if you haven't realized that the tax base in Wyoming is drying up. They collected in 2017 $3.5 million. The same property returned to them $875,000 in 2020. So they're looking for ways to save money. And to save money, they're going to close transfer stations because transfer stations cost money. Riverton costs money. So I said, well, then we would haul our own garbage and we would expect a reduction, at which time they went into apoplexy. And then slowly it worked around the table and they started thinking about it. They said, well, then we would have to give other rate reductions to other direct haulers. I said, well, that's not my point. My point is I'm representing Riverton, and we're going to be hauling our own, and we would become a commercial carrier, and we want a rate reduction. Well, it breaks down that Sandral costs $40 a ton. If you have all the bells and whistles, and you haul your garbage to Lander, it costs $80 a ton. So the good things like recycling and electrical waste and all that costs money, and we are subsidizing it. And the paint recycling and all the other items. So the biggest problem they look at is we're their cash cow. We spend about $75,000 a month sending garbage over there, waste. And they have nice initials for it. Instead of garbage, it's R&B and something else and something else. But the bottom fact is we won't have our transfer station for Saturday morning garbage. We'll have to drive out to Sandral. Thank you.
Thanks, Kyle. Any other committees you're at?
I missed the airport. I hope
Mike covered it, and so did I. We doubled them up.
Okay.
Mike?
So, thank you, Your Honor. Yeah, I did attend the airport board meeting, and again, the ridership has been doing well. We boarded 993 passengers in March, which was a good number compared to 703 the year before. That was, again, right before COVID blew up the world. So they're doing very well. And our general aviation numbers are up even better than that. So we had 374 total airport landings or takeoffs or whatever, and the year before it was 177. So we're doing very well in that respect. Again, you know, they discussed a lot of different things. Of course, the Jackson Airport's going to be closed for remodeling next summer from middle of April till somewhere around the middle of August. And if my math, I didn't write it down, but the general number is somewhere in the summertime, the Jackson Airport enplanes in the range of 50,000 passengers per month. Not quite that many in April, but like June, July, and August are up there above 50,000. So again, if Riverton can pull a rabbit out of our hat and get SkyWest to maybe increase some flights, get the Wyoming Aeronautics to give us a little help, maybe we can pick up some of that business. And there's the Riverton ambassadors and some other people are working on different ways that maybe we can try to help drag some of those customers to us, and we probably will work with Rock Springs to try to, get some of that Jackson traffic to come through Riverton or Rock Springs instead of going to Idaho Falls or Salt Lake. We couldn't handle, if it all came here, we couldn't handle it no matter what. Our airport does not have the capacity to take planes above 50 passengers right now, if I remember correctly. And so, we could increase a couple of 3 flights a day maybe and still handle it, but we couldn't take 50,000. We wouldn't have enough place to let them have a place to go to the bathroom, so. So again, I think the Riverton Airport's doing really well, got good things coming, with a little luck and some increased volume, we may hit the 10,000 mark this year. So that's sort of the goal, to get us into the next level of airport funding from the federal government and everything. So, like I said, the Riverton Ambassador Group is working on several initiatives like they did last year, which is the Riverton Happy Days will be going again in place of the Day in the Park. So they're going to have a craft show in the park and then some other fun activities and stuff going on Main Street. And again, working on the holiday festival for Christmas time and several other community events. So we're doing our best to keep things going on in Riverton and for people to have something to do and a reason to enjoy, and not canceling everything that we do, hopefully. So, and today I attended a meeting for the Boys and Girls Club. Again, next Tuesday morning at 6:30, they're going to have a breakfast honoring Mary Margaret Stockton, and they're going to have Dave Dravecki, which is a baseball player, come and speak. And again, we're trying to get a Boys and Girls Club here in Riverton, which would provide some after-school programming for, school-age kids and summertime programming, and be a positive place for some of those kids to be able to hang out and work on homework and do activities and do that with some supervision and not have to go home and play video games and whatever else they decide to get into on their own. So I think it'd be a great asset for our community, and so I hope everybody would get out and support that and look at trying to make a contribution to the Boys and Girls Club. If we all just pitch in a little bit, $20 to $30 a month contribution to the Boys and Girls Club would sponsor one child all year long to be able to, be in that program and be able to take advantage of those benefits. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Lindsay.
I wasn't able to attend PAWS last week because it was during our work session, and
Who scheduled that? Tony.
and on another note, baseball starts next week.
Fabulous.
Yay.
Baseball. One word I can spell. Carla.
You should be able to.
Most of it. I got most of it.
Your Honor, I attended the Community Engagement Committee meeting last week, and they're planning some pretty awesome things right now. The most immediate is the last day of school. They're planning to have an activity, I think at J.C. Park. I don't think it's set in stone yet, but they want to have games and music and the big bouncy houses and stuff like that, and then maybe show a movie at dark. Some other things in the works as well. I was not able to attend the Fremont County Rec Board meeting because they moved it to our council meeting last time, so missed out on that one. but I'll make the next one. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Tony?
Thank you, Your Honor. To Councilman Larson's point, I have no idea why I'm dad in the trash scenario. They're going to come and tell on, but okay. No, we have been, Councilman Larson did let us know about that. Kyle and I have talked about it, and I know that meeting is forthcoming. And I know that conversation is going to be significantly larger than what we've had here today, and we look forward to having it with you. We've talked a little bit about the EDGE committee throughout this evening about the different funding. In the most recent EDGE meeting, the mayor and I attend on behalf of the city. I staff that particular board. Megan's kind enough to take minutes so we can function and have a conversation. At the most recent meeting we're starting to get into the meat of it, where we get to hear presentations. So Riverton Medical District and Boys and Girls Club both presented on their applications. At the time we originally scheduled the first meeting, that was the only applications we had. And so we were like, okay, we can get them done together. And since that time, another 5 have come in. So there'll be a second meeting on the 29th of this month for the other applicants to come and present to the committee. The meeting following that, the committee will make discuss, make recommendations, and then they'll be forwarded to council accordingly. We have found that through our process, because of the amount of information that sometimes accompanies an application, we went into the week after the deadline thinking that we only had 5, but we ended up finding 2 additional because we were contacted and said, well, we haven't heard anything. And we said, what do you mean we didn't get an email from you or anything submitted? And it turns out that they get hung up in either their system or ours somewhere in there. So we did put those individuals in because they had proven that they had sent it beforehand. They said, here's the email without the attachments. So we'll be changing that process just a little bit, probably either drop boxes or some other way, just kind of getting those kinks out. But we are happy to have almost $2 million in requests. Well, let me be very clear, we're estimating about $600,000 a year. So we might not be able to fund the whole thing, but the committee will make those recommendations to council. And just as the mayor pointed out, council will ultimately be responsible for the award of those monies. If there are any questions throughout the process, we hope to get that information to you sooner rather than later, so you're not getting it on a Thursday or Friday and expecting to act on it the following Tuesday, simply because there's a lot to read. I promise you I've read it all. So, and even getting through it takes a little bit of time. Formulating questions and understanding takes some time. So we will be getting that to council as soon as possible. We would point out that council letters of interest for the vacant council seat are due by April 28th at noon. So if anybody is interested or wants to know, they need to submit a signed letter of interest. They can submit it to the clerk's office or to myself, take it into Megan, one way or another, it's going to get to us. And then we'll coordinate that with council. So that will be on your agenda on 1st in May, correct? First meeting in May is the intent to have you review those, is to have you hear those presentations, ask those individuals questions. And we've done that process before, so we'll copy the process we've done previously. The only other item that I would point out, we've had a number of questions with regard to public closures of Maine federal marches. We did some work on that over the last couple of years, and if anybody has any questions about that or they're looking to do it, we would encourage them to do it sooner rather than later. Don't wait till the week before. While YDOT's been really great about working with us, sometimes we tax their patience, and we want to give people the ability to review it appropriately. We do help with those a little bit when so those go through us and then are forwarded on. It is ultimately YDOT's choice on closures. We did work with them, as you'll remember, to develop waivers on insurance, so we reduced some of the cost. But that is, again, up to YDOT. It's not a city choice, but we do try to help, and Kyle and the chief and everybody does a really good job of trying to help with traffic control plans, talk through different logistical concerns, and ultimately we end up doing a lot of that closure. So we coordinate that, and we appreciate any amount of time we can have to thoughtfully go through that. So we're happy to help, and please direct those individuals towards us. And with that, Your Honor, I don't have anything else.
Thank you. I was able to attend a strategy planning meeting by all the mayors, and we held that in Lander about a week and a half ago, and that was about a 4-hour meeting, and we had a county commissioner, Commissioner Jones was there, and all the mayors except for Pavilion, and a lot of good ideas and association with those mayors and working together. I appreciate that. We also in the audience tonight have 2 members of our planning commission. I appreciate their attendance. I was able to go. Mr. Carr had a planning commission on the week and a half ago. We looked at some plots, and I appreciate the community involvement. I don't think we give enough credit to those committees that all these people sit on. And Eric, is there 9 on that panel?
Your Honor, 9 members and 2 alternate members, so 11, yes.
11. And so our FAST committee, which Ernie sits on, our Force committee, which Mayor Warpness sat on for years and years, they're just essential. And so is that EDGE meeting, and we put a lot of effort into the EDGE committee. We met there. Those are long meetings, but we're covering a lot of good ground there. I appreciate that. I did have an opportunity to be interviewed on the snow removal for the city on our big snow day by the Casper television. And I'd like to commend the city staff for the quick removal of that snow and how nice it was to get around town. I appreciate that. Airport meeting's been mentioned a number of times, but Councilman Bailey and myself attended there, and that's another committee meeting that has Jim Gore's in the audience tonight, and he sits on that committee, and those once again are work that we would have to do with staff if we didn't have committees to help us with them. I had a really great opportunity, and I would like to publicly thank Mia for her help. We schedule the parks, and what we would like everybody to know is that you can schedule areas in the parks, and it comes at a fee. I believe $30 was charged for this usage, to use the fee on Easter Sunday. And we usually do a really good job with that and post it and try to make it so that it's aware that the Bailey family has the shelter. But we didn't get that done this time. And the citizen was nice enough to send me an email and tell me that he got there and had to share the shelter with 2 other families, and it worked out. It wasn't exactly what he hoped for, but it did work out, and he sent me some pictures of things that we could improve on. And what I find Mia always does whenever a question's asked of her, she finds solutions to it. And so there was an email back to that citizen tonight on my email line, and returning the check for the cost that was charged and suggesting how we could fix that. And I commend staff. They do a fabulous job in those things. I also had a meeting so that she could help me understand. She and Tony, we went over the water charges for being in town or out of town. And they only vary. It costs you about $20. It's actually $16 and some cents per 1,000 gallons of water. And so that's a really swell deal. And we probably ought to look at that when we're talking about continued funds, and I think we will. Kyle held a pre-construction meeting this evening for the Hill Street construction for our Force Committee. Hill Street is going to be tore up, and I would advise people to take it out of your route of travel. It's going to be closed for a good portion of the first section of that. And so the construction hopes to be done in late July?
Your Honor, construction should finish near end of September, but the road closure will last from the week of May 3rd through the middle of July.
Okay. And so that's kind of a vital artery to the golf course end of our world in Riverview. And so you're going to have to amend your travel to get around that. You can drive clear to Kinnear, or you can go down to Majors, whichever you choose. Depends on what kind of date you're on, right? The other thing that I would like to do is the police department handled a very tough situation the last week, and it dealt with too many dogs and too many cats at one location. And they went and took care of that today. 20-plus cats and 6 dogs.
Yes, Your Honor.
And we're fortunate to have the PAWS group that stepped right up and helped with that, and got those animals out of danger. And I can't tell the police, he called me and told me that he did that and he was done, and I said, thanks for the help. And then it occurred to me I did nothing there, right? So I would like to point out that I appreciate what you do.
Thank you.
The other fun thing that I got was a call today from Sheriff Lee. And in my past, I never did want to talk to the sheriff really bad. But I get a report of what the jail's doing twice a week. And I watch that, and it's a really good report. It has quarantined patients, and it has how many beds, how many prisoners are in our county jail, and how many prisoners are out of county in that report. And it took a great big jump, and it was up in the 180 range. And so I called to suggest that I would be willing to help if there's something I could do. And he was kind enough to call back and tell me that they're looking really hard at some things there, and they're trying to fix that. That brings me to my latest point this evening, and that is that law enforcement is a difficult job. And just today, we saw that in the national news. And I would like to put out there that we support, and I know the council's with me, I do believe, that we support our police officers, and we are thankful to have them to go and do those jobs that we choose not to do, and somebody has to do them. And so that's not an easy task, and we can participate in this as individuals and citizens. Lock our cars, lock our sheds, close our gates, lock our homes, protect our property, and be kind to the people around us, and do everything we can do to make Riverton a wonderful place to live. And I do appreciate all of the services that are rendered, and I appreciate the willingness to look at ideas and to move forward and make Riverton a good place to live. And so with that, that's all the comments I have, unless staff has anything they'd like to add.
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Anybody else? So if we're done, we hit almost last week's mark. We're at 8:47 again, and we stand adjourned. Thank you.